to handle some external affairs, and I think everyone has seen our poster. As we've mentioned today, our main focus is on the image of Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. Avalokitesvara is a greatly revered bodhisattva, not only in Chinese communities but also throughout the entire northern Buddhist world. Whenever we face difficulties, if we sincerely call upon Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, most of the time we will receive a response. Tonight's speaker is Mr. Chung Siu Lam, who will introduce himself in a moment, as he has many things to share with everyone. He's just arrived here now, so let's all take our seats. Let's invite Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva to say a few words to us.
Good evening, committee members and fellow students. Please help me welcome everyone who has come today to listen to Mr. Chung's sharing. The teacher specializes in painting images of Guanyin, and through his paintings, he makes it very clear for everyone. When you see the image of the Bodhisattva, doesn't it naturally bring a sense of joy to your heart? We often say that we should learn from the Bodhisattva's compassion and wisdom. Through Mr. Chung's paintings, we can immediately feel the compassion and wisdom of the Bodhisattva at a glance. This is something we are always striving to learn. Of course, we may not be able to paint as skillfully as Mr. Chung, but we can learn by appreciating his works and by cultivating a respectful and emulative heart. Finally, a big thank you to Mr. Chung for coming to share with us today.
Brother Chung has very kindly and generously given 2 of his beautiful art books to our center. If anyone in our community would like to request a personal copy of Brother Chung's wonderful art book, I will certainly let you know exactly how to do so in just a moment.
Thank you for your health and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I spoke about this Buddhist art tonight at a lecture in Hong Kong the day before yesterday. The first half of the lecture covered the origins of the softening process of Guanyin Bodhisattva, which originated from a primitive religion based on goddess worship and spread to the Aryans' invasion of northern India, a region known as health. The worship of a goddess then evolved into a male faith, that of a war god. Then, after the fall of the Ayatthaya Buddhists, Hinduism and Ayatthaya Buddhism flourished. Ayatthaya Buddhism, located to the north of India, was invaded by the Greeks during the Alexandrian invasion. They gradually embraced Ayatthaya Buddhism, but they also incorporated a lot of Greek culture. These forms of culture gradually led to the establishment of a large city called Kiabia. As Hinduism flourished, Ayatthaya Buddhism flourished around 300 before the Common Era, after the Tang dynasty eradicated Buddhism. But I'll briefly touch upon this topic to give you a path to evolve. Last time, I focused on the origins and evolution of Ayatthaya. This time, I'll focus on the 33rd Guanyin mind power, magnetic field guardians, and various Buddhist art accessories, including meditation. I'll give a brief introduction here, as the journey of Guanyin Bodhisattva would take a year to fully explore. This is a large topic, but I'll give you a brief overview. If you have any questions, you can practice sword training later. This will be Ayatthaya Buddhism. From 200 BCE, after Nagarjuna Bodhisattva established the Madhyaka, middle way, philosophy, the Mahayana and Hinayana schools split. The Hinayana school followed what is called the path of prajna, which is self-cultivation, while the Mahayana school followed what is called the path of devotion, relying on external power to understand the meaning behind the Buddha. Some call it the path of icon worship, but this is only a superficial understanding. The real purpose is to use the icons as a reminder to comprehend the inner dignity and wisdom of the Buddha, the Dharma within the noble lineage. Because of the rise of Mahayana, many other vassals or tribes were incorporated. Before the Aryan rule, India itself was home to many different tribes and vassals. The first thing Mahayana Buddhism did was to absorb these elements. The Bodhisattva's previous incarnations underwent various transformations, evolving from an earth and martial deity towards a water deity. This is known as the process of transformation into a water god. In fact, the origins in every place are roughly the same. In the earliest days, Persia and India shared a single culture, but due to the Aryan invasion, a division occurred in the north, splitting the culture into two distinct parts. This became a unique feature of Indian culture itself. When Mahayana Buddhism was flourishing, it absorbed many elements from Hinduism, including its deities, ritual implements, and icons. The most borrowed were the giant statues, especially those representing the Hindu Trimurti, known as Shiva. The Trimurti in Hinduism refers to the three deities responsible for destruction, creation, and nature. The creator god is Brahma, the destroyer is Shiva, and the god of nature is called Venus or Vesalo, something along those lines. After the concept of the Trimurti, overall, it is still centered on Shiva. The great image of Shiva, his spiritual power, is said to be in constant flux. Strictly speaking, it is the continuous flow of collective spiritual energy that enables such great deeds. In the earliest days, Shiva was a primitive deity in the Aryan tradition, known as Rhoda or sometimes called Rhoda. There are different pronunciations. In primitive religion, Indians worshipped him as a deity who was born from the earth in the form of a bull. He was believed to possess even greater strength than the bull itself. He is responsible for destruction. For example, when impurities or evil forces are in the universe or on earth, he reveals his tail like a prawn's tail, bringing great winds and heavy rain, cleansing the land so everything can begin anew. That's why he has the name Pure and Free Lord, because after cleansing all the filth of the world, everything becomes pure and clear again within. This later developed into what we know as the Medicine King Bodhisattva. In the Avatamsaka Sutra, though I can't recall which chapter, it mentions another name, Pure and Free Lord, referring to the Medicine King Bodhisattva. Part of the Medicine King Bodhisattva's story was incorporated into the legend of Shiva in Hinduism. When Mahayana Buddhism spread, it adapted these figures to fit different cultures and beliefs. For example, in Hinduism, he is called Shiva, but in Mahayana Buddhism, he was transformed into Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, Guanyin. Additionally, in Zoroastrianism, this figure is known as Asta, which means holy maiden. Persian culture is Buddhism, called the religion of desire. Desire means Kriya Tantra, action Tantra. The waist in the diagram refers to this. The religion of desire is Buddhism. Their culture uses water deities. Water deity culture meant the year, representing time. In Greece and Egypt, water deities symbolized fertility, purity, and renewal. Nyan means year, not river. People mix up Nyan, year, with he, river. Let me first talk about the Nyan flower. In ancient Egypt, the Nyan flower symbolized fertility as a whole and also represented female fertility. Firstly, it stood for purity, and secondly, for life and death. After a year, when the sun rises, the flower blooms, When the sun sets, it closes up, symbolizing the short cycle of life and death. After this concept of the year, they adopted these ideas, and that's how spas did things differently, different from, for example, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. So, the first origin is the thousand-armed, thousand-eyed Avalokitesvara. The thousand-armed, thousand-eyed Avalokitesvara has different divine children, different ritual implements, and different hand gestures. Now, what are these hand gestures? In their original form, hand gestures, nowadays, people think of hand gestures as just hand signs for subduing demons and so on, but that's actually all wrong. The most original hand gestures, if you look at the Dunhuang murals, or some classic depictions like Manjushri or the Pipa Island, and so on, these come from the Western regions and some ethnic minorities. Their Chitian postures had a purpose. It was a kind of supplication to the heavens, a way of praying, and also a way to release energy through dance. So, each hand gesture, some of them were adopted from these traditions. The most basic types of hand gestures, the 5 main ones, include the mudra of meditation, the mudra of bestowing blessings, the mudra of dispelling demons, the mudra of silk, the mudra of protection, and so on. I'll talk more about the hand gestures later. After adopting these, it became what is known as the thousand-armed, thousand-eyed Avalokitesvara, and that's how it started. But in the early days, what was Buddhist art like? In the lesser vehicle, Hinayana, they did not advocate for pure white, and there was no Buddhist art as such. For the lesser vehicle, pure white in a Dharma context meant that after the Buddha's passing, everything was extinguished. All the Indian people, all those characters, were either water or fire. In the earliest times, they would burn shoes, clothes, or mementos, or turn them to ash. Later, this became what was called an earthen mound. Now, our ordinary round earthen mounds, if you look at Liangshan, they would paint bamboo shadows on the earthen mound, making it look like it was about to burst open. But what is the form of the earthen mound? What is it called? It's not called an earthen mound, it's called a stupa. In our world, in the center of the universe, there is an object above. That object is the central point of the universe. Ours is called small Sumeru. Sumeru means supreme purity. This is small Sumeru, and outside it, there's a protective boundary. Some call them Nangan. Even now, near Lantangzi, you can still see a few of these. That Nangan you see isn't actually called Nangan now. Those people call it Nangan, but if you study Buddhism or Mandala, that is called a protective boundary. This boundary is meant to surround and protect the beings within the Buddhist teachings, preventing external intrusion. On top of this earthen mound, there is an official name for it, stupa, stupa, stupa. You call it floating earth, and when you talk about the 7-tiered floating earth, this is where it comes from. The first stupa, this earthen mound, is used to place ashes or similar things. Gradually, it became not just about the Buddha or the Dharma, it was no longer solely related to the Buddha. In the period of great prosperity, it became a kind of magnetic field formed by a group of wise beings, so you could say. In Theravada, the founder is the main focus, but in Mahayana, the Buddha represents a collective of wise beings. So, everyone is a Buddha, constantly cycling through existence. During this process, your self-awareness will rise, and one day you will become a Buddha or Bodhisattva. That's what it means. Then, slowly add to the second layer of the earthen tomb, placing silver objects in the middle. In the third layer, add sutras. Early sutras were called shell-karma. On the shell-karma, write sutras and place scriptures. All of this respects the existing Dharma. Slowly add 4 5, 6, and 7 layers. 7 is the mysterious number in the original, including Christianity, Catholicism, and any other religion. In religion, Islam celebrates the 7th day of the 7th month. In China, we celebrate the 7th day of the Bardo. Buddhists and Christians celebrate the 7th day of the 7th month. On the day of worship, you must rest and pray. So, 7, and our swastika plus the swastika is composed of 2 sevens and then quickly turns to. If you don't want to, try turning the 2 sevens over and then quickly turning to. The swastika in Buddhism, etc., is often represented by 7, representing many original elements. After that, slowly, the early elephants absorbed so much, including the lotus. All the levels were not human realms at all, they were all Persian. So, after the Aryan invasion, most of the culture was preserved in Persia. The things that originally existed in India were turned into something else by the Aryans, called. They gave it a name, gave all the medicines and deities names. What were they called? Azura, double Azura, then the Azura festival, and it developed further. People felt humans should have karmic consequences, constant humiliation, salvation of sentient beings. Your mind constantly moves towards higher or lower realms, endlessly circulating through spiritual realms. This led to the 6 realms. The 6 realms are not found within Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, but in esoteric Buddhism, they turned it into 6 forms of Avalokitesvara, each representing salvation of beings lost in a particular realm. Even beings in the heavenly realm can become lost. The heavenly realm is not without confusion. Heaven also has a day of death. If you say humans have eternal life, then I would be lying. Heaven has death. Humans do not have eternal life. All beings with physical form, not just humans, must contemplate. What is our human life, our mind, and our material existence? When we reflect with our minds, we should strive for clarity and purity, like a clear and bright essence. Originally, in essence, I am pure, that is purity. But as soon as we arrive, there is Maya, an inherited Maya. Originally, it's illusion, Maya. Once inherited, your karma is born. Karma arises every minute, every thought you think is your own, but it's just something pushed up from before. Before you finish one thought, it passes, and the next comes. You are constantly going in circles daily. You think you are doing things, but it's just your illusions spinning around. When you become attached to a moment, your karmic actions are born. In Buddhism, it is said, you must maintain a pure mind and let go. In daily life, I let my natural purity emerge. Only then can you see this truth. As for worries and troubles, I won't go into that now. After this comes, it gradually develops. In earliest days, when we created images, you can see it in Yunjiang, Shebei, Vatong, and Dunhuang sites. After Dunhuang, for example, Yunjiang and Vatong, those early Han influences had already been introduced from the beginning. What was their image-making culture like? Because this great saint was influenced by the noble customs of what was called the Mauryan dynasty, during which a group of Greek artists and self-governing settlers lived there. Their culture followed the influence of the Greeks. At that time, you could see the curly hair, the way of depicting nudity, and the square-shaped male figures with beards. This was because, over time, they underwent the influence of the Aryans as well as the noble Greek culture. Both contributed to the rise of a male-dominated society early on. It was always like this, always like this, always like this.